You make six figures, maybe even seven figures a year. You have all this high income, but why can't you walk away? Why is it that high income earners aren't necessarily becoming financially free? That's what I'm addressing in this episode today. Hello, my fellow Ripplers. This is Chris Miles, your cash flow expert and anti-financial advisor. This show is for you. You've worked so stinking hard for that money, and you're now ready for that money to start working harder for you instead. You want that freedom right now. You want that prosperity. You want to become work optional, where you have enough passive income to be able to work because you want to, not because you have to. And you do it because you're not just here to get rich, but you're here to live a rich life. Because as you have more financial and time freedom and more means and ability to take care of your family and then some, you can bless more lives. You can create a ripple effect to the lives of others. And that is what I'm here to do today. Thank you for tuning in and being a part of this show right now. As a quick little reminder here, be sure to check out our website, moneyripples.com. And in fact, by the way, I'm going to mention something at the end of this episode that you might want to hear about. We are getting together live for a work optional mastermind. I'm going to talk about that later, about what you can actually do if you want to become involved and associate, like really connect, not just with us personally, but even with our own clients, people on the same journey as you, so that you become financially free faster. We're actually going to do an event in Park City, Utah in September. Be sure to tune in later. I'm going to talk more about that in this episode. All right, so here's the thing, is that so often I've had people, and I had this belief too, is that I believe that if somebody had a big house, somebody made a lot of money, they've got to be good with money. But is that really true? Let's admit it. Any of us that are high income earners know that that's not always the case. In fact, in my experience, and we've worked with hundreds and hundreds of high income earners, right? People are making at least six figures a year, sometimes seven figures a year, making like millions of dollars as well. Here's the one thing I've learned, is that just because you make good money doesn't mean you're good with money. Again, I'll repeat this. Just because you make good money doesn't mean you're good with money. These are two very different skill sets. You know, and I first realized this because as a young financial advisor, right? I was sitting down with my brother-in-law, who came from a wealthy family. Now, this brother-in-law was amazing at making income, but he also spent a lot of it. In fact, and I'm not saying he was like heavy in debt. That wasn't the case at all. But if you were to look at his wealth overall, he wasn't necessarily wealthy. And I'll tell you this, he was definitely not free. He did not have passive income coming in. He was really, really good at his work. Now, he was in sales, right? He was more involved in the sales type of business. And so in that industry, yeah, he was doing great, making lots and lots of money. He had the wonderful house. I remember kind of idolizing him for a little bit, thinking, man, I'd like to be like him. And I'm a financial advisor. But it didn't take me long to realize, as I started to have more conversations with him, is that even as a financial advisor, where I had very limited understanding of investing, right? Mine was all limited to stock market, primarily mutual funds, things like that. I still realized pretty quickly he wasn't necessarily the best manager of his money, and he definitely wasn't a great person to talk about how to create more wealth with his money. And this guy had great ideas. He had lots of great ideas about different things, even real estate. But there were things that his dad talked to him about, where his dad had created good amounts of wealth and also made good income too. But his dad actually found ways to keep that wealth, where his son did not. And that was a big epiphany to me, because there are different skill sets when it comes to money. You could be the best penny pinching saver possible, right? You could be living on rice and beans and all that kind of stuff. You could be so disciplined on your spending, yet you'll still be broke too. And I mean broke in the sense that you're still living paycheck to paycheck, right? Yeah, you might have a great emergency fund by some point. You might have been good at cutting down your costs, but you're still not free. You're still stuck in that job. And what I've noticed, even with good high income earners, I mean, I work with a lot of people that are like doctors and dentists and business owners of various sorts, and chiropractors and people like that, people that do make significant income, yet despite their income, the reason they come to us is because they say, listen, I'm still not free. Yeah, on the outside, on the surface, things look good. For example, I can go on trips, I can do stuff, but this is what I know in the back of my mind, Chris, is that if I'm on a trip, I'm on a vacation, even though I might have a business, I'm not necessarily making more money, and that's where they realize you can have a business and still feel like you're self-employed. You can have a business, right? You can feel like you're that. You can have a high income job. You could be a doctor for all that, for all that. But then you're like losing all this money to taxes because maybe you're not a business owner as a medical professional, right? So you get just pillaged with taxes, take home a lot less, and yet at the same time you know how to make the income, but you're not sure what to do with it. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people, companies, investment professionals, financial advisors. I mean, even people that just target high income earners that will target you and really take advantage of that ignorance, right? Because again, making income is a great skill. There are so many people that have not figured out how to do that. But then keeping the money is another skill. Managing that money is a skill. This is not about creating wealth. Just managing your money is a skill too. So think about it. Number one, you have an income produce. Like, how do you produce more income? Many times people get more education, more training. They go into a specialized field. They make money in their business, and that's where they make their money. Great. You became good at that thing. You probably realized pretty quickly using your body, unless you're a professional athlete, right? Or something like that. Using your body was one of the lowest paying skills. You get a little bit more for using your mind, a little bit more for using this niche expertise, right? You get more and more money from that income that you're being paid. But you can't stop there. You got to know how to manage the money as it comes in. And this is a good skill to have too. How do you learn to manage your money? Are you a wise steward as the money comes in, or are you blowing it, right? What's happening when that money comes in? What are you doing with that money? I remember I teach about 3 different mindsets when it comes to money: spender, saver, and steward. Spenders, it's easy come, easy go. They blow it. Now they'll spend on things they enjoy now, which by the way, it's not bad to enjoy your money now because you don't know how long you'll be on this planet. It's good to enjoy a little bit. On the flip side, though, but the problem with that one is, of course, you don't have anything else. You're always going to have to hustle. You're always going to have to work, and you will burn out. On the flip side, you be a saver. And the saver, you're not spending your money. You're trying to park it, but you'll set it and forget it. You'll park it in places, and often you'll turn it over to people that really shouldn't be controlling your money. Financial advisors and professionals, people that you think should have your best interest in mind. And maybe to some level they do as a fiduciary, but at the same time, there's this gray area because you can be a fiduciary and say, hey, you're willing to go take some big risks? Well, yeah, high risk creates high returns. Remember, that's a myth from recently. Like, yeah, sure, I'll take high risk. And then you lose a bunch of money. And unfortunately, they're not to blame. It's you because you chose to take the risks and they just followed your advice, right? Or your preferences. And so, yeah, you'll blame them. You'll go try to fire somebody else and go hire somebody else, but then they'll put you in the same crap anyways, because it's the same mindset with every financial advisor, right? So you're constantly always trying to bounce around and find that right thing, but you're not really getting ahead. And yeah, you're trying to save your way to success, but the truth is no one truly saves their way to wealth. You need more than that. You need a better offense, right? You need something that actually moves the needle for you. And saving your mutual funds that make, maybe 8% a year, and then you get no tax advantages on it, is not a good way to build wealth. You would have to save so much more money. You have to sacrifice so much of today for tomorrow, only to realize it's still not enough, and you have to keep working more years. That's what many, many savers are doing, and they're being heralded as being the greatest people when it comes to managing money, but that's not the case. You need to be a wise steward of money. Stewards say, take the best of the spender and the saver. How can I be wise with my money like the savers try to be, but then also be willing to use it now to create income and passive income and real wealth today? That's something a steward, type of teaching, right, is just not taught. It's just not taught. You might have guys like Robert Kiyosaki talking about the investor mindset, like he talks about the quadrant, the cash flow quadrant, and things like that. But it's not quite there because the stewards know that they're just a temporary, well, for lack of a better word, steward of their money, right? They're temporary resources that they have responsible to them. Their job is to figure out what's the highest and best use of this money? How can I use it more wisely? Yes, I will manage my money. That's an important part of stewardship, but I'm also looking to make it work for me in a way that produces results now, not just later. In fact, the truth is, if I make more passive income now and create more wealth now, it'll create more wealth in the future too, right? If you've been following this podcast, you're probably looking for great ways to create passive income right now, right? Well, we got you covered here with Central Lending. Central Lending specializes in alternative investments that actually are designed to create steady returns and long-term financial security for you and your family. Now they prioritize transparency. They love, building those strong relationships, giving you that confidence and peace of mind, knowing that you have your money working harder for you, so you don't have to work so hard for that money. You want to learn more how to do that? Go to centrallending.com and check out what they've got today to create your passive income and wealth creation right now. So that's what stewards do better. Now, when it comes to investing, right? That's what stewards have to do to grow it more. How to become a better investor. This is like becoming a better business owner. Business owners are good at growing their business, often don't know how to grow their money. They can grow their business and they can invest money in their business, but again, they get caught in their own rat race because yes, they can create multiple 7, 8, 9-figure businesses, yet they're still a slave to their business. Yes, they might get more systems and people and processes in place, but still without that income coming in from that business, they're stuck. And maybe they can sell it for millions and millions of dollars and just say, I'm going to live off the less, and then just have some family office try to manage their money for them. But it's so important that you take control of your own future, because so few people, especially even the family office financial advisors, they just don't get it. So you got to do it. And it doesn't require you to become an expert. In fact, you don't have to know as much as you think you do. Most financial advisors and even family offices learn about things that really just don't matter, right? I'll tell you, as a financial advisor, most of the things I learned, I had to unlearn from 4 years of learning as a financial advisor. Yeah, some of it still applies. And a lot of it still applies for me to teach you what doesn't work. But for the things that do work, that's a whole different story. So for example, how do you know you have the right investment? How do you know you can create passive income? See, that's not just about knowledge, right? And the knowledge, sure, you get some basic knowledge and knowing the right question to ask. But then after that, it's having the right connections. Just so you know, family offices, which usually have to have at least $25 to $50 million to be able to even get that kind of advice, that's all they are. They're just people that have connections to the same thing. We just help people create it for themselves, right? We help people get connected to CPAs and attorneys and insurance specialists and investments of various sorts. And again, we're not trying to be an investment advisor. We're trying to be the strategist and the connector, figuring out what can you do to turn your money into real income, right? In fact, or if you put it this way, how to turn your actual high income into real passive income. How do you get your money that's in savings to actually start paying you instead of just sitting there hoping you don't run out of money? How do you get it pay you forever, perpetually being paid passive income? That's a heck of a lot of P's just now, wasn't it? So yeah, you get that perpetual payment of passive income coming in. That's the ideal. And that is a very different skill. And so when you're looking at this, great, you're a high income earner. You got one of those skills down. Make sure you know how to manage it. And maybe if you're already a saver, you're like, I already got some of the management stuff down. Great, awesome. Now you have to learn how to get the money out, right? As I always teach, get lean, that's management. Get liquid, also part of management, but then get that money out, working for you to create passive income. That's essential. How do we get that working for us? Just so you know, if you're a saver, you're not often getting liquid because you're told to lock it away in IRAs and 401ks, which is a bad place to put money, especially if you want freedom before you're 60 years old. And especially if you want a little bit more access to that money or even passive income today before you're 60, that's a very essential thing to not do, is putting your money in those 401ks and IRAs. So that's where you have to focus, right? Is how do I develop these other skills? I'll tell you, a lot of the clients we get are good at making money. They're also good at managing their money to some level, right? I mean, maybe they're not perfect or they don't feel like they're perfect, but they do a good job. The next skill is, how do I grow my money? How do I invest it? And then as I grow it, how do I then manage that to where it becomes wealth? And even beyond wealth, how does it become multi-generational wealth, where it's not just you passing on money to children, but you get to help teach the next generation, help them become even a better steward of their money than you were. That's the next step. And that all requires different skill sets along the way. Good news is that's what we teach on this show, right? Even if it's broken up in bits and pieces. That's why I'm focusing so much on these little minutia type details as it seems, because that's a big thing. So again, if you're a high income earner, you already know this to be true. It doesn't mean you're good with money, right? Let's just get that out clear. And you're not alone. Almost every high income earner I talk to believes this to some level. Now they might say, hey, I'm good with making money. And I've heard some even say, yeah, I think I'm pretty decent with investing and whatnot because they're good savers. But the one thing I find consistently is that they're not good at investing the money in a way that creates real passive income right now. That is the piece that's missing. Hey, yes, we can help you with that. Obviously, that's something that we do in Money Ripples with our work optional blueprint, helping break that down, right? Again, I'm not going to focus a lot on that right now, but that's something we do talk about wealth at moneyripples.com. By the way, if you actually are curious to see how much you could create in passive income, try the passive income calculator on our website. It actually can give you a pretty accurate number, assuming you fill it out correctly, pretty accurate number of how much passive income you can create in the next year. And so that would be my challenge to you. Now, let me talk about this event coming up. We have the work optional mastermind that's coming up. This work optional mastermind is really only been open to our members. But this year I decided, because we actually had a success with testing with one couple, and that one couple, funny enough, they're like, we're not high income earners, but they had good net worth. And now we're actually turning it into passive income to where we're looking to get them on our show here probably in the next few months. But as they're deploying their money and getting things moving, they're at the point where they're just about financially independent. Like they're just a few moves away from being financially independent, probably within the next year. Ironically enough, that's even faster than our high income earners. Our high income earners are actually jealous that they're getting there so fast. And that's again, I had such a good experience with that and knowing that we can screen and get the right people in. We're opening only just 8 seats. We open it really for 4 couples, right? And then maybe couples, maybe it's not a couple, maybe you're bringing like an adult child or something like that, or a young adult, but or a friend for that matter. But for the most part, we're looking for 4 couples, right? People that just 8 seats, that if they want to really attend this with our clients who are in that process, especially if you're looking for somebody to say, I want to bounce these ideas off of not just Chris personally, because it's very intimate. It's only like 30 or 40 of us. But we got our coaches there. We got a lot of our team there as well. And a lot of our clients, I mean, they've had great experiences and some of them have been doing this for years. And having them there to be able to say, hey, what are you doing? Or what do you think of this or that? And how do you overcome this kind of mentality? Because I hear what Chris says, but I still feel this way, or I still believe this way. How do you deal with it? We try to create a lot of space for that. Yeah, we're going to be doing some cool things. There's actually a game we're doing that simulates very real life with investing, to invest like a steward. That the best way to do it is by simulation, so you can help apply it in real life. We play that game. It's called the abundance game. We do that. We also bring in a few guest speakers to help talk about how to even teach it to the next generation and what can you do to control your mindset so you can be a better investor. And then of course we have us breaking out little mini mastermind, little mini roundtables to talk about very specific topics that maybe you have questions about, and you can mastermind with other people that are on the same path as you are. Some of them have already hit financial freedom. Others are on the path still. And that's what we're doing. And then we get to hang out the second day, kind of do some cool stuff in the morning. All this is in Park City, Utah in the fall. It's late September, 25th and 26th. Amazing. If you want to be considered, because we do not just take anybody off the street, right? If you want to be considered, you need to take the passive income calculator and qualify that way. If you can get a number of at least, legitimately, depending on the number you get, we'll let you know if you qualify. If you do, you need to reach out to our team and say, hey, listen, like I'm interested in what you guys are offering, but I would like to be considered as an attendee for this. It's really kind of, I hate to say it this way. I don't want to sound like we're being exclusive, but it's kind of like tryouts, okay? Because we do want to protect the integrity of the group and make sure that everybody's edified. You're edified, they're edified, like it's a really good group. And we have a very specific culture. We're very real people. I have some people tell me like, Chris, you're not polished at all. I'm like, that's right. I'm not AI. I'm a real man. He's a real man. Sorry, I just had to say that. Anyways, but yes, we want to protect it, but only 4 couples, right? So we only have room for about 8 people total to attend this event. So again, if you want to be considered, try the passive income calculator at moneyripples.com. And of course, if it's something where it does say you qualify, please reach out to us so then we can consider you. So anyways, here's the thing, guys. Making good income is good. And if you can manage money, that's even better. But even better than that is, how can you turn that money into freedom? That is the key. That's the thing that we're teaching on this show. That's why we're doing so many episodes on this very topic. But remember, just because you make good money doesn't mean you're good with money. You need to develop those skills, and you need help to do so if you haven't learned that skill yet. So go and make it a wonderful and prosperous week. And we'll see you later.